But speaking of running quarterbacks, the guy that can no longer run because he has turf toe, Joe Burrow and the
He is
Cincinnati.
becoming this generation's Andrew Luck. I posted this today, and that's the talk all over social media. They are 2-0, and yet they don't feel like a 2-0 team. He is becoming this generation's Andrew Luck. And I don't get it with the Bengals. They had Carson Palmer. He got traded, but was forced to retire because of the Bengals' lack of investment in the offensive line. Boomer Esiason leads them to a Super Bowl. Wins an MVP. Didn't have a great career with Cincinnati. Why? Because they refused to invest in that offensive line. Like, the Bengals could very well, with their schedule, still be in contention for playoffs with Jake Browning, but do you really want to bring Joe Burrow back? Like, you could have drafted Penei Sewell instead of Jamar Chase. I get it. Since Jamar Chase got to Cincinnati, him and Joe Burrow have become a deadly combination. But
the Bengals have also made the Super Bowl in that time. The Lions have not.
Yes, but I think Penei Sewell is on a path to Canton.
Well, I think Jamar Chase is also on a path to Canton.
Yes, but if it were me, as much as I love having Jamar Chase, I'd rather protect my quarterback.
So I think it's a little bit of a myth that the Bengals have not tried to protect Joe Burrow.
They haven't.
Well, here's the thing. It's not for a lack of investment in the offensive line, because look what they went out and did, Josh. They go out and they draft Amarius Mims. The first-round pick last year was an offensive tackle. They drafted Dylan Fairchild this year in the 4th round, a guard, offensive lineman. They signed Alex Kappa in free agency, offensive lineman. The center they brought over from Tampa just got hurt. The guy who was playing there when Brady was there, for some reason I can't recall his name right now, but he got hurt. He's out for the year. So to me, it's not that they have not invested in the offensive line. It is the way they're calling the game around Burrow. And credit to Mark Schlereth. He's now a credible radio host in Denver. He used to have a show on Fox Sports 1. He does the NFL games on Fox on Sundays. Schlereth said that basically it's not the offensive line. It is the fact that Burrow, and I agree with this, he is in shotgun 90 to 95% of the time. They don't go under center, and when they do go under center, it's almost 99% of the time a run play. It is a lot of stress on Burrow, and a lot of their routes, like they don't throw a ton of running back screens. They don't throw a lot of drag routes, get the ball out quick. It's all down the field to March T. Higgins, and it is an explosive offense. And it has gotten the Bengals to 9-8, and Joe Burrow could have had an argument to win the MVP last year because of the numbers he put up. I think it's more about the way this offense is built, because it's built around Joe throwing the football down the field with good offensive line protection. It's not built around the way Philadelphia is. Run game, offensive line, you add the receivers. That is the offense Cincinnati needs to run.
Yeah, but they seem reluctant to do it. And I get it. They've tried to add pieces, but from my perspective, it feels like they're doing it because they hear the noise. It doesn't feel like they actually want to build their offensive line.
I think the difference between the Colts and the Bengals in terms of the way they built, the Colts never invested in their offensive line for Andrew Luck, and they let Andrew Luck get killed. I think Cincinnati wants to invest for Burrow. They just haven't hit on their picks. It's not for a lack of trying.
I think I see what you're saying, but for me, it's a little bit more they haven't tried. Like, I get it. They've made some picks. They've tried in free agency a little bit, but for me, they really haven't put in the effort. They haven't.
I just think it's unfair to say they've completely ignored the offensive line when they went out and they signed 2 big-name free agents and they drafted a first-round pick in an offensive lineman.
And that's a fair argument. I'm not dismissing what you're saying. But for me, it's like...
Basically, you can make an argument they chose getting more offensive linemen over choosing defenders. They haven't brought in any defenders, and their defense, like I predicted this year, it actually is getting turnovers. Yes, Trevor Lawrence and Giants had a good game. The Giants probably should have won that game Sunday, but their defense, again, created 2 more interceptions. They're creating turnovers. So Cincinnati is 2-0. This is their hardest part of the schedule. Remember on our schedule predictions when we did the breakdown of the Bengals, I had them starting 2-0, falling to 2-4, and finishing 11-6. So I know they like Jake Browning. He played well 2 years ago when Burrow had the arm injury. Played pretty decent on Sunday outside of the interceptions. I'm interested to see. There's rumors out there that they're trying to maybe make a deal with the Giants for Jameis Winston. I was surprised that Kirk Cousins' name hasn't been brought up, but I guess that's a money situation.
I would suppose so. They signed Sean Clifford and Mike White to their practice squad.
The former Penn State quarterback, your guy, Sean Clifford.
Yes.
I didn't even know he was still in the league. Do you know what team he was on?
Packers.
Okay, so he was on their practice squad, right? Because that's right. They did draft him, I believe.
I think so.
So, okay. So they're moving forward with Jake Browning. And all of a sudden now, this is why Josh NFL predictions mean nothing. Who would have thought going into week 3 of the 2025 NFL season, Vikings Bengals would be Carson Wentz against Jake Browning?
I know. Wait. So we didn't have this in our rundown, but I want to talk about this because Joe Burrow is banged up.
Yes.
Jaden Daniels is banged up. Justin Fields is banged up. What is it with all these quarterbacks dropping like flies?
Well, actually, that's part of my other takeaway. So we'll do this topic, and then we'll go back to the topic that we originally planned, because that was part of my other takeaways from week 2, is that in the NFL, last year, I believe it was like 26 or 27 something teams or so used a backup quarterback. I think there was a total of like 65 or 70 quarterbacks that played a snap last year. In the NFL, we can talk about receivers all we want. We can talk about offensive line and defensive lines all we want. The 3 most positions in the NFL to build a franchise around are number 1, quarterback, number 2, backup quarterback, and number 3, kicker.
Yeah. Well, kicker is definitely for sure, because Dallas would not have won that game against the Giants without Brandon Aubrey.
That's what I'm saying. So when you think about the most valuable positions in football, the most valuable investment is quarterback. And the Eagles have talked about this a lot, even back in the day when they had Carson Wentz and Nick Foles. And then it was obviously, Jalen Hurts and Nick Foles. And then it was Jalen Hurts and, Gardner Minshew, excuse me. And now, it's Jalen Hurts and Tanner McKee, and Kenny Pickett was there last year. Investing in the backup quarterback with Kansas City as Gardner Minshew now, in case something were to happen to Patrick Mahomes. I don't know how much of a drop. I mean, obviously it's a big drop off, but like Jake Browning could play. We saw Carson Wentz at the end of last year. I believe he was with the Rams that last game of the year. Or no, that was 2 years ago. I'm sorry. Last year was with the Kansas City as a backup. He's been around good play callers. Who knows? Maybe Carson Wentz could play with Kevin O'Connell, who's a quarterback whisperer.
Yeah. That is true. Yes. The most important position in football are the fans. Ask the Browns. Yes.
No, actually, the most important position is quarterback, because the fans don't matter if you have a shit quarterback play. You can ask the Browns about that.
Oh, God. I don't want Grandpa Joe starting this week, but I also don't want Dylan Gabriel getting killed by Michael Parsons. And
so that was my other takeaway, by the way, is I've never seen a Browns team play that bad in my life. I was very disappointed by the Browns. I thought they were going to at least cover 11.5. I thought they were going to come out. I thought they were going to play well. I did not give a shit about Joe Flacco's return to Baltimore. That didn't matter to me. It was irrelevant. It was 8 years ago. These two guys are completely different. What I thought was, okay, the Ravens were coming off a very highly emotional game against the Bills. It took everything they had. They're going to come out tired. They're going to come out sloppy. The Browns' defense is really good. And guess what? They did. And then Joe Flacco decides to throw every single freaking pass he could at the line of scrimmage to either a running back or Harold Fannin, the backup tight end. What the hell was that offense about?
I don't know, but here's my biggest problem. All I've seen on social media this week following that game on Sunday is like everybody is blaming Kevin Stefanski and everybody is blaming Andrew Berry, especially after what we saw last night with Baker Mayfield and Nick Chubb. No, I am not blaming Kevin Stefanski for this at all.
So you're not blaming him for that boring design of a scheme?
No, I am not blaming Kevin Stefanski at all. He is a 2-time coach of the year. Got us into
so the what? He hasn't won a playoff game as the Browns head coach, technically.
We should have won that game in Kansas City, but the Chiefs.
But you didn't, Josh. It's about winning in this league. That's why all Browns fans, I hate to say, that's why you guys are all losers. You know, again, I rant on this every single year to you people. Oh my God, it's Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco ain't gonna win you shit.
I'm not blaming Joe Flacco either. I'm not. There's only one person I am blaming. He's the reason we drafted Johnny Manziel. He's the reason.
Come on. Okay, come on. You can't blame Jimmy Haslam.
100%.
Jimmy Haslam. If it was Jimmy Haslam's choice, you know who would be starting week 1? Shador Sanders. Instead, he's out here getting backup practice squad time.
This is Jimmy Haslam's fault. 100%.
If this was Jimmy's call, Josh, Shador would be starting week 1.
I'm not blaming Stefanski at all. No, I am.
How can you not blame Stefanski when he's 3-16 in their last 19 games? I don't care that Kevin Stefanski's a 2-time coach of the year. He's only had 2 winning seasons in 5 years, and one of them was because Joe Flacco came off the bench in a miraculous fashion. And then, by the way, got blown out by C.J. Stroud, who after that game with the Texans has never been the same quarterback.
You're right. Well, no, it was more so after the Ravens game that he was never the same quarterback, but I get what you're saying. I understand that, but you realize that if we fire Stefanski, some team's going to scoop him up in a heartbeat.
That's what you guys say, and you know what? He might be successful, but he might not. And they said the same thing about Frank Reich when the Colts fired him, and guess what? He goes to Carolina, and he's out within a year.
And I'm tired of all this. Oh, if we had kept Baker Mayfield, maybe he could have turned into this.
That's irrelevant. That's loser talk. No one cares. You know what you care about right now? This football team's a disaster. I told you this on our prediction show, and I don't mean to scream at you, and I don't mean to get upset, but it pissed me off. The fact that if Deshaun Watson is out here practicing and getting ready to play this year, this whole regime needs to be fired. Stefanski, Berry, clean the freaking house. I don't care what anybody says. That is truly what this Browns organization needs. They need to move forward with a new general manager, a new coach, a new quarterback, and give the fans something to cheer about, because Myles Garrett is looking at his bank account right now going, oh, well, you know, I got paid $3 million for that game because I'm making $40 million a year. Hey, you know, I could lose 40-17.
Yeah, it was 41-17, actually.
Okay. So quickly, because I went on a tangent, I'm going to give you my 2 other takeaways. Because
Tom Brady, go ahead.
Well, one of them was backup quarterback kickers win games. The second one was Joe Flacco's not the answer for the Browns to waste time.
No, I never thought he would be. I want Dillon Gabriel to start this game against the Packers.
I don't even want Dillon Gabriel to start. You know who I want to start.
Yeah, no, I know you want Shedeur, and I imagine at some point he will, but I know it was in mop-up role, but when Dillon Gabriel came in, he actually led the offense, and we looked good.
Well, he actually threw the ball down the field. Okay, takeaway number 3. Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr. needs to be. Let's see. John stopped getting massage from his girlfriend when the Browns go. Okay, I'm not going to comment on that. I'm going to talk about Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr. because he should not be allowed to be in the Fox broadcast booth anymore. Not only is he basically an assistant head coach of the Raiders, call it what you want, he's a minority owner, but he's more involved as a minority owner than I've ever seen any minority owner involved in my life. And number 2, how can he go on the herd and swear like a drunken sailor and be so animated and be so good when he talks about football, and then he comes on the broadcast booth and he sounds like Bill Belichick in a meeting room?
And here's my other thing is, who's the week 4 opponent for the Raiders? Oh, that's right, the Chicago Bears. And guess what game Brady is calling this week? Cowboys at Bears. Coincidence? I think not.
It's actually a joke. Again, Fox paid Brady all that money. I get it. They don't want to move off his contract, but they screwed Greg Olsen. Everybody acknowledges it and everybody knows it. And I owed for Brady the way he sounded when he was on these like I said before, he is so good on these pregame shows or these radio talk shows breaking down stuff. Why can he not do it in the booth? And my takeaway is because he's not allowed to, because he's the minority owner of the freaking Raiders.
I actually like him in the booth, but I wish
what does he bring to the booth? That's my question, because he brings absolutely nothing to me. He doesn't excite me. He doesn't give you any inside baseball about football. The best performance he had was the Lions game in the divisional round last year against the Commanders. I thought he was on top of it. I thought he was fantastic that game. He hasn't done anything remotely close before or since.
I personally enjoyed his broadcasting style, though I understand where your issues are coming from with him. I totally understand that, and I'm not going to disagree with that either. My problem with him is the fact that, he's the minority owner for the Raiders, and instead of, giving him hard no's, you can't do this, you can't do that, it seems like the league is relaxing on what he's allowed to do and what he's not allowed to do as a broadcaster. No! With the Bears being the Raiders' week 4 opponent, he should not be on the call for this game. No!
Well, we'll see if it helps out, because clearly whatever he was doing last night did not help Geno Smith.
No, and he's now going to play in some flat, other football league or something.
Well, it's going to be the flag football league in Saudi Arabia as a part of Riyadh season, but let's not go there.
And the NFL is not happy about it.